everyone, it's Leanne. How are you today? It is a beautiful Saturday here in Adelaide, and I decided that I would share today with you my day yesterday. So if you are watching live, thank you so much for being here. And just if you just want to type in the comments, I'm on StreamYard. So for anyone that hasn't actually seen a live with me on StreamYard before, you to be able to have me see who's writing the comments, you need to actually give StreamYard permission to for you to go to access your comments. So anyway, look, I ran a LinkedIn workshop yesterday here in Adelaide, and it's the first face-to-face live workshop that I have run for quite a while. Obviously, with COVID, we haven't been able to run face-to-face events. So it was fantastic to actually be able to run a live event again. So we had a 4-hour workshop. And pretty much what I covered in the LinkedIn workshop was we talked about strategy, and it was a really great small group. So we only had 6 people there, which was fantastic, and so it meant we were able to actually do a bit more of a dive into everyone's business, and sort of work out what outcomes they had for their LinkedIn presence. But hello, Stu, you're watching from the kitchen. Fantastic. You need to still be doing the dishes. So, don't just sit there and watch me, but no, look, thank you. Thanks for watching, Stu. I can always count on you to be my trusty support. So yeah, yesterday, as I said, it was a really small group, and I think, for me, what I learned was that LinkedIn is such an amazingly powerful tool as far as being able to set your own presence up. At the end of the day, LinkedIn is a free platform, so for most people, the actual free version is certainly adequate for what most people need, but I think in a lot of cases, people just don't understand how to actually use it. So having the session yesterday, I've done quite a few online webinars, and so giving lots of information, but to actually have a face-to-face, sit down, answer questions, be able to interact with people face-to-face. We've all got really good at at being online in the last 6 or 8 months, but you still can't beat the actual face-to-face event. And I know, the friends of mine at the speakers, they're sort of saying the same thing, but you can't actually beat a face-to-face event. But LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, and everyone has their own outcomes and their own uses for using it. But what I really discovered yesterday is that really we had a mix of people in the workshop, and we had a couple of coaches. We had a lady who's she's got a couple of businesses, and one of them's in the interior design business. And so what we did is, did a bit of a brainstorm on, okay, so, she might not necessarily be able to actually reach her customers specifically on LinkedIn, but she certainly can actually reach the people that work with her customers. So, we did lots of looking at, who were the potential industries and organisations that may be able to actually help her reach her customers and form partnerships. So, I think in a lot of cases, people certainly underestimate the uses that they can make. And, I've been on LinkedIn now for 14 years, so it's certainly been an interesting journey for me. But, I've always been a connector, and that's just how I roll. And, you can probably always, no matter who sort of talking to me, in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, now, who do I know, or what do I know, or what resources do I know that could actually help them? So it's certainly something that is just naturally the way that I think and the way that I connect. But being able to actually access all sorts of people and industries on LinkedIn. I think yesterday, there's nearly 700 million people on LinkedIn, and it's really just a huge opportunity for anyone in business, whether you're in business, whether you're in a company, whether you're in an organization, or whether you're like a solo operator. There's just lots of opportunities to actually find, you might find a client, or you might find someone to partner with. But I've actually just found friends on LinkedIn, which in a lot of cases people just don't even think about. You go onto a platform and often you have an absolute definitive outcome, and sometimes an outcome isn't necessarily obvious from the start. And I quite often talk about, g'day, Doug, how are you? Thanks so much for joining. How are you? Fantastic. I'm not quite sure what time it is in your world, Doug, but it's a beautiful Saturday morning here in Adelaide. It's about 20 to 10, and we're going to have a day. I think today our temperature's about 27 or 28 degrees, and I always forget what that is in the top of the world language. I know that 38 is 100 degrees, but I'm not quite sure what 28 is, but it's a beautiful day anyway. So thanks so much for joining. And Mum, hello, Mum. Thank you so much. You've almost become one of my biggest fans on Facebook Lives. You're always sending me messages saying that sounded really good. So it's 4:12 in the afternoon. So Friday afternoon I'm assuming, I think that you're in Colorado, but anyway, you can correct me for that. So thanks for joining, Mum. So Doug, I was just talking about, I ran a face-to-face LinkedIn workshop yesterday, and it was so nice to actually get back to Utah. Thank you, Doug. I must admit, our wonderful Grow Live community, I sort of get you all know that I live in Australia because I'm the odd one out, but I get a little bit confused sometimes where everyone is in our group in the top of the world. G'day, Whitey. Thank you so much for joining. Wonderful to see here. So Andrew Whitey is one of Stu's best mates who lives in Kiama in New South Wales. So at the moment we've got Utah, we've got Strathalbyn in South Australia, and we've got Kiama in New South Wales. So Whitey, I was just talking about, I'd ran a face-to-face LinkedIn workshop yesterday, and I think like people underestimate the connection. So here I'm just sitting here talking on on my Facebook Live, and I'm lucky enough to have connections across the world, but it's actually the connections that you make and how you make them. And I suppose for me it's actually never discounting a connection, and I don't always have necessarily a specific outcome in mind. Like I was a farmer, which Mum and Whitey and Stu certainly know, and I'm not sure, Doug, whether you know, but I've been a farmer most of my life, and in lots of ways I sort of think about like my connections and like the people that I've known over the years, and almost like akin to to planting a crop. As a farmer, you sort of work out what paddock you're going to plant a particular crop in, and you actually plant specific seeds in particular paddocks, and usually they all get the same sunlight, they all get the same rain, although Mum will probably say that it never used to rain on our place. You'd always see it raining on the neighbour's place. But you plant a whole heap of seeds, and you just, with the same nurturing, some grows, that some don't germinate, and some might germinate and die straight away. And, depending on what seed it is and what the conditions are, some might not ever mature, and some might mature faster than the others. And I sort of, g'day, Jamie, how are you? Thank you so much for joining. So Jamie's another one of my beautiful Grow Live, my Grow Live community friends. So thanks so much for joining, Jamie. But yeah, so, I suppose I sort of liken, like my network and like making connections as, as planting a seed. You plant it, but you don't actually know what the end outcome is. And, I sort of quite often talk about, like you plant one particular seed, and it might mature in 2 years, it might mature in 10 years. So again, I suppose that's sort of how I look at the way I build networks, and it's about how you create opportunities. And I suppose it's a little bit like the community that we have within our Grow Life community. We nurture relationships, and relationships aren't necessarily, they don't need to be close geographically to you. We now have, the technology to be able to really communicate and actually build relationships with people no matter where they are. And, and I always think the beauty of it is, we don't have to have the same backgrounds, and we don't have to have the same location or industry to actually be able to build relationships and just sometimes see where they go. But yeah, yesterday, the LinkedIn workshop, I suppose, sometimes when you have been doing something for a long time, you actually forget that other people don't know what you know. And I think in a lot of cases, it applies to all of us. We just, the knowledge that we have, we often just assume that everyone else knows the same, and that you don't necessarily have anything more special than anyone else. And, I suppose I always think about, like LinkedIn is, there's no actual right and wrong way to use it. And again, I've been using it for 14 years, and I made a really conscious decision that in about 2012 that I would grow my network, because look, at the end of the day, I just love I love meeting people, and I love helping people, and I love finding out what someone's story is, and often I can actually even work out someone's problem just by talking to them, and it might be a problem that they don't even realize they have. So it's, there's quite a few things. And yesterday it was a really diverse group, but like at the end of the group, at the end of the session, I always, I'm a part of Steve Sims' group. And, Steve always talks about, you just never know that the solution to your problem might be sitting right next to you. And so we had sort of a discussion about that yesterday. And, out of the people that were there, 2 people actually knew each other, which, that's probably a typical Adelaide scenario. But, after it, we, one of the members of the group sort of created like a group for all of us. And, there's now started to be, dialogue between the people that were attending, just as a result of actually meeting new people and finding out a little bit more about them. So yeah, that, but they're probably the one thing that I discovered is LinkedIn is such a huge beast in the fact that there are so many aspects to it, and no one, everyone uses it in a different way, and everyone has a different outcome. And, one of the chaps yesterday, his outcome for LinkedIn was to, find more clients and find more leads, and actually start to put out some more content. Whereas the other, one of the other girls, she worked for a larger corporation. So hers was more about, finding leads for the company. And we actually had Stu. Stu came along, and Stu doesn't even have a LinkedIn profile. So we well and truly had certainly a different mix of people there. And well, I did say to Stu, and Stu's certainly listening, I did say to him this morning, did it actually make sense to you? He said, yeah, I learned a lot. So I think, like it's just a case of, in a lot of cases, people sort of just, like don't know how to use it and don't think about what they could be using it for. And one of the things that I always talk about is being curious, and also and it was like I do talk about being curious all the time, and it's probably something that I am always thinking, like I wonder who, or I wonder what, or like and it's not necessarily just on LinkedIn. That just is a weapon of choice, but it's about being curious and sort of digging deeper into who people are and what especially with LinkedIn, like with what content there is. So it's certainly curiosity is probably one of the most important things. And actually Stu and I were having breakfast this morning, and he said, when you talked about like the little plus sign, he said, I can't believe people actually haven't noticed that. And I said, well, sometimes like it's again about a curiosity, thinking, I wonder what that plus sign means, I wonder what it does if I press on that. So there's just so many things that curiosity can actually open up your world effectively. And the other thing I talk about is courage. And when it comes to LinkedIn, I'm pretty courageous. And when I talk about courage, I mean like having the courage to either comment on someone else's post or someone else's comment that you perhaps don't know, or having the courage to connect with somebody that you don't know, or you may not even think that they would want to connect with you. Or last night, and this will be an interesting outcome, but I was last night watching the Gruen, which is a television program here in Australia on our ABC channel, and they talk about advertising, and so it's a program about marketing and advertising, and they analyze things, and one of the guys on there made a comment, and I can't actually remember what comment he made, but I was actually, when I was watching it, I thought that was a really great point. So I decided that I'd go to LinkedIn and send him a connection request. And so what I did was, mention that I was watching it, and I thought, I was sitting here agreeing with the comments that he made. So it will be interesting to see, where I had a look, and he is active on LinkedIn. But, and again, I think years ago, like for the people that know me, they probably know lots of my story, but, like our family has a really strong history of breast cancer. And so, Mum was diagnosed twice, 36 and 48, and she's still here. I'm not sure whether she's still watching me. Probably she is, but, Mum's now 80 and well and truly still here. And I was diagnosed about, I was like 10 years ago. But what I actually decided to do was, because, like I had the experience of all of our, the family history, I decided that I would share my story. And one day I'd spoken at a fundraising event, and probably a month later, I was walking down the street in our town, and this lady stopped me and asked me, whether I was Leanne, and I didn't know who she was. And so we had this conversation, and she said she'd seen me speak at this breast cancer fundraiser, and she was so inspired and motivated. She went and had a mammogram the next day, or like that week, and they actually found early breast cancer. And she looked, and I'll never forget, she looked at me and she said, "You saved my life." And that, I think, in lots of ways, that then has made me think about the fact that, often people do make a difference in our lives in all sorts of ways, and, whether it's big or small. And but actually taking the opportunity to let them know, like often we do things and we don't know whether they've made a difference or whether they haven't, but taking the actual opportunity to let them know that they've made a difference, it's a win-win for both parties. And so again, that's sort of, one of the philosophies that I take with me in pretty much all my world, that if someone actually makes a difference, regardless of who they are, that I try and let them know. And again, like it was a little bit last night when I was, like watching this program on television, I thought, like especially with, television broadcasters, like, they're producing content all the time and, looking at a camera, but they're actually not knowing really the impact that they're making on people's lives and what impact it's making. So anyway, it will be interesting to see whether this presenter accepts my connection request. And again, like I just really wanted to, reach out and let him know that it actually made a difference. So does anyone have any questions? Any questions about LinkedIn or anything else? I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And but yeah, like it again, like I think, I got this amazing recommendation on my LinkedIn profile from one of the participants yesterday, and I haven't surprisingly enough, I actually haven't got my mobile phone next to me, so I can't even, pick it up and share exactly what he said. But it went along the lines of, it was the best LinkedIn workshop that he'd ever been to, and that I made it relatable and understandable, and that, he's taken away a lot of things that he'll be able to actually apply. So again, like that's a perfect example of, and Stu's, I think, you can bring my phone in. Stu's going to bring my phone in so I can actually read it. So, but yeah, like, and again, like this is one of those things. I'll just bring it up and read it. And so as far as like the person that's delivered the information, like if someone doesn't tell you, you don't know whether it's made a difference or whether it hasn't, whether it's landed, whether you've explained things in the right manner. So Rex sent me this recommendation yesterday. Probably the best workshop on how to use LinkedIn I've ever been involved in. Very translatable information, great rapport built with attendees, so much knowledge I feel I can readily apply. I completely recommend Leanne's half-day workshop. So, like Rex actually sent that to me. I hadn't even actually left the venue. And so what I then did is I actually sent him a video message straight back, because, it's such a powerful thing to either be the giver of the information that makes a difference to someone else, but actually, to be told that it made a difference. So yeah, that's really what I just wanted to share with you today. So, how good it was to actually be back presenting a face-to-face workshop. And, we talked about in the group about, the difference between running online events versus face-to-face. And, again, we know that we certainly can build relationships virtually no matter where we are. And g'day, Tony, how are you? Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. So, we really can build relationships wherever we are. And the technology, again, I've been online and using online technology now for, I think I went online in 1997. And so, 23 years. And it still never ceases to amaze me, the way that technology works and the way that it's actually allowed our whole society to build connections regardless of where we are. And, whether it's, I'm literally sitting here in my office and, I'm communicating with people all over the world. And So, you know, again, I think it's just, you know, taking the opportunities to connect with people. And, you know, and I suppose one of the things that I've learned over the time is, you know, never burn bridges. You know, like you just never know. Like I'm working with Paul at the Eastwood Community Centre, and he and I grew up together in the same country town, and you know, like our lives, we knew each other as we were growing up. Our parents were friends, and then he lived with me, you know, at some point in time when he moved to Adelaide when I was down here, and then he went into the army, went off and did all sorts of other things, and was up in Broome for a long time. And he'd come back to Adelaide. I literally bumped into him at a networking event, and it was actually through, like, I think LinkedIn used to, you know, here I'm back to LinkedIn, but like LinkedIn, and it doesn't have it at the moment. They've taken the feature away. They used to have a feature called Find Nearby. And so you could actually turn that on and you could see who else was in the, you know, who else was in the room on LinkedIn. And like we were at this networking event, and you know, like we both had this Find Nearby feature on, and we've looked and we've seen that we're both in the same room, and sort of turned around and gone, hey, how are you? So so Paul has actually been working, you know, he's been working now 30, thank you, Mum. Mum's just said 33 years. Thanks, Mum. Thanks for that. But yeah, now you've just thrown me. I'm thinking 33 years. But you know, like I think, you know, again, you know, like it's about, you know, like building relationships and maintaining relationships, and you know, like our wonderful friend Ken Walls, you know, talks about talks about, you know, how you show up, and you know, and Scott McCain, how you show up and how you are everywhere in your life is the most important thing. And I think, you know, it certainly is when it comes to you know, relationships and connections and your network. So look, have a really great day. What are we off to? We're off to see our ex-neighbour this morning. We're going to go and have a coffee with her. So off to have a coffee. And so thank you again so much, everyone, for joining. And I look forward to continuing with this, my live streaming courage. Ken, I'm not sure whether you're watching, but I've decided that I really do need to keep out here, going live. I know that Paul at the community centre, he has certainly been, you know, making me do some impromptu Facebook lives about some of the work things that we're doing, because I've been out speaking to helping older people get online. So I've been speaking at some Probus clubs here in Adelaide, and also at some retirement lifestyle villages. Hey, Eric, how are you? So thanks so much, Eric. I know we need to speak at some stage about the LinkedIn stuff. We've been talking about that for a long time, haven't we? So but yes, so I've certainly done a few more live streams in the last few weeks, but I decided this morning that I would actually come on and yeah, you know, like just share what I did yesterday. And I had quite a few people message me afterwards saying, you know, we thought it was either that it was an online event, or that, you know, they just weren't able to come. So I'm going to run another face-to-face LinkedIn workshop here in Adelaide in 2 weeks' time. So it'll be, and I'm going to do it on a Saturday. So it'll be Saturday, the 28th of November here in Adelaide. And I will also be running some online sessions as well for the people that certainly, you know, that can't just come along face to face here in Adelaide. And Jamie and Doug and any of my Grow Live friends. The planes aren't flying, so you can't even at the moment hop on a plane and come and do a face-to-face workshop with me. But anyway, so look, have a really great day, and again, thanks so much for joining. And yeah, I look forward to wherever you are in the world. Have a great afternoon. Have a great night. And for my friends and family here in Adelaide, have a really great weekend. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Bye for now.